Hello and welcome. I am so glad you're here. I am Rebecca Danger, and last night I gave a talk at a local art group about my creative journey so far. And I thought, since I already have the slides built and I have some little note cards, I thought I'd go ahead and record it and put it up on YouTube so that other people can hear about my creative journey. So I'm calling it My Creative Journey, or How I Got to Making Tiny Bears in the Studio, in a Studio in the Woods at 42. So here we go. I'm following us along with the slideshow here, but I'm going to put it in the video here. So I can figure out how to do both. So this is me. I'm probably 5 or 6, probably 6, maybe 6 in these pictures. So when I was little, 4, 5, 6, 7, my mom used to take me to the library every week to encourage me to read. Only all I wanted to check out was craft books. So we used to get in these big fights about it. So we had like, I think she decided it was like for every 5 reading books I checked out, I could have one craft book. So I think that's probably where my whole story starts. So oops, push the wrong button. Um, this is Barnaby. I found him last week in my studio, and since then I made a batch of tinies and I finished writing his sewing pattern on Wednesday this week. And he's about 3 inches tall, and I started making these, I started selling them heavily in um, 2023, but kind of the concept started in the fall of 2022. So I started the concept in the fall of 22, but I had some stuff in 2023 that I had to take a break from these, and I'm just getting back to them. So I'll tell you more about that, but I think I should really, this journey starts here, which next slide. That's me. I'm about 12, I think. And I started playing the harp at 8 years old. I was actually playing for money starting at 12 and 13 years old. I used to go play at uh, retirement homes and big restaurants. I played at J.C. Penney's one time for I can't even remember what it was for, but I did a lot of background music as a harpist. And so I was making $100 to $150 an hour back in the 90s, which was pretty significant. So I was a professional 13-year-old, which sounds a little ridiculous, especially because I have a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old right now. And I don't see either of them out playing the harp anywhere. I mean, they don't play the harp, but you know what I mean. But it taught me early on that creative work can be real work and can give you real money as a creative. So I think that that creative drive has been there since childhood, both in the harp, and then I used to pull out my mom's old sewing machine and try sewing things, but I didn't know about seam allowance, and so I was trying to make bear clothes. I mean, it's full circle here. Trying to make bear clothes, and then they'd come out too small because I didn't allot for seam allowance and all of that. But whatever it is, I've always wanted to make something beautiful with my hands. So um, on the next slide here, I started a handbag company at about 14 or 15. These are not the handbags that I started with. I started with some fabric handbags, but they were similar-ish. And so over the years, they moved towards these. This was a company I called Persnickety Designs. And I graduated high school. So I was selling the bags. I did them on consignment to local shops, and then I did all the art shows in the area. And then as I kept going, I built the business more. I graduated high school in that time, and I went to Whatcom Community College up here and got my associate's degree there, and then started at Western Washington University, and was a junior in college doing tie-dyeing. And I went, you know what? I think it would be better if I just start my handbag business full time instead. So I'm going to do the next slide too. There's some more of them. I love these photos. I was so pleased to find these and pull them back out. So they eventually moved to these Naugahyde bags, vinyl bags, and I did the cute little designs on them. Eventually, we built it enough that I'd gotten married at that point. My husband had quit his job. We were working on it full time. We had a 3,000 square foot retail space and workspace. So we made the bags on half, and then we sold the bags in the other half. And we had 5 full-time employees. So I think I was probably 22, 23 at that point. And running a manufacturing business, and it felt like everything was working and everything was going great. And then I we built for Christmas 2007, like we took our numbers from '06 and built for '07, thinking we'd have, an increase obviously. And at that point, we had hired on employees, so we were actually paying for the bags to be made. And so thanks to the 2008 housing crash, the 2007 Christmas numbers were just not there. We just did not sell enough bags. So we tried everything. We did big clearance sales. We did everything we could, advertising, all of it to try and make it work. But we ended up sending my husband back to work, and we actually turned the space, half of it, into artist co-op, which we did, I think, for, I can't remember fully, but I think it was about 8 or 9 months we gave that a try, and it just didn't work out. So we would make our bags still on one side and keep up with our wholesale accounts and everything. And then on the other side, we were running this co-op, and it just didn't work. So we sold everything off, we closed the doors, and I went home very devastated. So um, after that, while we were doing the bags, I had picked up knitting again. My grandma taught me to knit when I was in middle school, and I'd knit all through high school and college in the back of the classroom, knitting. And I picked it up again, and we were making knitting specific bags to try and kind of get a niche market, doing everything we could to keep the business going. So um, I got home and I said to my husband, I just want to sit on the couch and knit and make money from it. And we both had a good chuckle. And then we really looked at it, and I already had a pattern ready to launch. And so we decided I would give it 6 months, and I could try selling knitting patterns online for 6 months. And if it didn't work after 6 months, I'd get a real job, right? Real, go work at Starbucks or whatever. So um, let's see. Go ahead to the next slide. Um, so 3 months in of my 6 months, and I'd already been contacted by a publisher, and I had a book contract, a signed book contract. And so, yeah, the Danger Crafts patterns were born. This is Herman, the Enigmatic Bear. He came out in February of 2009, which is my birth month, so it felt particularly fitting. And then this is Daphne and Delilah. They're one of my best selling knitting patterns ever. So I focus mainly on toys, animals, monsters specifically. People call me the monster lady. And I did, let's see. So there's that. Here's some of my book covers. That's my son on the Monster Nursery one. That's my oldest son, Presley. Um, so yeah, dinosaurs. I had this set of dinosaurs that came out, and I wrote 6 books. I only ended up getting 5 published. My publisher decided not to publish the 6th one. And I, at this point, have nearly 200 published knitting and sewing patterns out there. I'm at 13.8 thousand sales on Etsy, which isn't even a big number anymore, which is funny. I've been on knitting TV. I was flown all across the country to teach. It was great. And I had built something I loved, and it was working. But as we know, creative paths are never straight. So I had kids. They're my everything, and I have 2 boys. They're 15 and 12 right now. They were born in 2011 and 2014. And this is pretty personal. I don't share this online too much, but my oldest son, right after my younger son was born, they're about 3 years apart, we came to realize he had something going on, and he ended up being diagnosed as on the autism spectrum with ADHD and sensory processing disorder, and he's got an auditory processing thing, and he's very intelligent. And he has been an absolute gift of a child, and watching him now at 15 come into his own is absolutely amazing. And I can't even believe he's the same person he was when he was little. But he was very challenging when he was little. And then my younger son is also ADHD and very high needs. So, the years when most people are building their career, I was in IEP meetings and waiting rooms, and and managing crisis moments constantly. So my creative drive never went away. It just had to kind of fit in the cracks instead of being the full-time thing. So over time, I lost my love of the knitting patterns. The internet got really hard and mean for me. I had a lot of really negative emails and interactions. And between that and everything I had going on at home, it was like, you know what? No, that's enough. I have enough going on here. So I took some time to focus on the kids. I'm going to add in this slide because I didn't have it last night, but I actually started doing some large scale abstract acrylics, and I did them small scale too, but lots of abstract acrylics. And then that turned into, I started painting the toy patterns. So my last book was knitted superheroes. And so so that was the one I did as a sewn version book too. And that's the one that didn't get published. So I started painting the superheroes and I did a whole line. It's a dozen of them, and I painted them and I put positive sayings on with it, and I painted it in acrylic. And I took it to a show in 2018, a Christmas show. And this woman, I don't even remember what it was, but she had been in like building brands and stuff for years. And she's like, "You have an amazing cohesive line here." So I ended up buying an iPad and drawing it all into digital art because that was a lot. It seemed a lot more reproducible than the painted ones, and started my happy art, which is this slide in really positive, colorful, bright animals with positive. I don't know if the animals are positive, but the sayings are positive. So I started selling those and kind of getting in a groove with my son. He was really struggling in school at that point. He was in second grade. And so the summer of 2019, I did a bunch of markets and art shows, and the happy art really took off, and I was doing really, really well. And here's some more happy art before I keep going. That's my bestseller. And let's see, this is one of my favorites. So summer of 2019, going really well. I bet you know where this is going. Yep, then we hit 2020 and all art shows were closed. So I did pivot and I started selling care packages online in July 2020, and it went really, really well. And by that September, I had a 300 or 350 box Halloween corporate order for, or what am I trying to say? Halloween box order for a corporate company. And so I got those all packed up and all of that. And I kept going into 2021 and Valentine's Day and sending out all those. And I was, sending out probably 10 a day or more. And I just couldn't keep it up between that and the online school and everything that was happening with COVID. It was just too much. So, oh, here, I'll show you one last happy art. Um, so I took some time off in 2021, which is a challenge for me. I'm not going to lie. I did some quilt patterns. I launched those online and they just totally flopped. So I wasn't really sure what to do, but that got me into 2022. So the fall of 2022, I was bringing out some toy patterns again, sewn toys. And then I was knitting little accessories for them and all of it. And so I started into that. And then in 2023, took those out to markets again because markets were back open and I was comfortable being out again. And I got into these little tiny bears. And I have bears and bunnies and kitties and puppies and mice. And I built this whole world with them. They were going fantastic in 2023. Sold all summer at markets and made little house pillows and cloud pillows, and I made a Christmas stocking that one of them tucked in as an ornament. What else? I made little child size crossbody bags with pockets so you could put them in there. It was cute. It was a really cute line. It was taking off really well. And in October of that year, one of my kids had another student threaten to bring a gun to school and point it at his head. So naturally, we were like, nope, we're done. And so we took him home and we started homeschooling, which has been wonderful. They both have really come into their own with that. And then, sure enough, but it was a big change for me and scheduling and everything. And then sure enough, right after that, my mom passed away in November 2023, really, really unexpectedly. And so I got through that Christmas season because I had all these shows booked because I was just selling like crazy. And I kept selling some in 2024. I did the whole market season in the summer again. But I'm an only child, and the estate was all left for me to handle. So we had a house that we had to, clean everything out. And she was an amazing crafter too, who had been doing miniatures and dollhouses. You see that tie in since the 70s. And so, as a fellow crafter, I'm sure you can relate. All of those supplies we had to clean out because it was really unexpected. So, um, it was really hard, really, really hard. I haven't really talked about it online. So I had to do all of the house stuff, all of the other stuff that comes with tying up someone's life, which is really sad. I had no idea. And grief work. And we ended up being able to find kind of a dream house and studio because we had an extra house at that point. And so that's how we ended up here. And it just my heart could not sew at that point. It just could not. And so I sold through what I had. And then I just had to kind of set the tinies aside because it was just too emotionally difficult to do. So I started playing with watercolors and um I guess I've not even been touching my slides, but I'm sure they're going in just fine. So that's the beauty of talking on camera is you just fix it at the end in post production. So um, let's see, where was I at? Oh, so I started watercolors and I found those. I'd never painted with watercolor before. And I just loved, I think, especially in that grief time of trying to reframe everything and take care of my mom and all of her things and, facing my own mortality and all of that. This apparently I'm going deeper than I was planning, but um whatever, it's the truth. The watercolor was so healing at that point because I could kind of just let it be chaotic and do what it wanted on the paper. And then I could come back over with my mark making and kind of feel like I was in control again. So that has gone well too. I mean, I do find the fine art and 2D like wall art is a really difficult market to get into and really sell enough to actually cover your bills. That's what I've found with it. So over that time, so I've had a bunch of work in galleries and I've sold quite a bit of work. Um, and then a friend and I started an artist support group at our local art center, February of 2025, and that's been going really amazing. And we actually had our first gallery show in less than a year this January, so that was fun. You can see in that one um, watercolor in the slide, it says Black Swan Group Spirals and Circles. So that was our art show from this January. So because of that, January this year, my friend Judy, who I'm calling out Judy, because she feels bad about it, but it was exactly what I needed to hear. She was at our Black Swan meeting in January this year, and she said, "Yeah, it's a great group, but I'm the only textile artist because I've been bringing a lot of paintings the last year." And I thought to myself, "Oh yeah, Judy? Oh yeah? I make textile art too," which is funny. I've told her since she knows all this, and I've actually thanked her for it because it is what I needed at the time. And so I got back into quilting. I did some like arty wall hanging quilts for galleries. These are a couple of the quilts I finished. This pink one had been waiting for me since 2021. And it's like all my favorite fabrics is I think my favorite quilt I've ever made at this point. It's been on my bed since I finished it because I love it. And then finished that rainbow one. The rainbow block was a tote bag pattern that I'd made, one of the ones that didn't sell very well. So I don't know. I loved it, but I think I just didn't have the right audience. So yeah, from that, I ended up starting a podcast with my friend Tom. It's called My Art is My Voice. And he and I have been doing Wednesday coffee talks every year since I first was selling at the Linden Farmers Market. That's where I met him selling my tinies. So we call it like, if you work in an office, you have like your water cooler talk, but as an artist, you're in your studio all the time. So we call it like the water cooler talk. And It's been really, really helpful for both of us. So we thought we'd bring it online. That was part of why we started the Black Swan group last year, was to build on that community and kind of bring those positive messages about art out to people, because art can be so challenging, especially if you're trying to work be a working artist and make an income with it. So we started the podcast. I was like, what the heck? So I started my YouTube back up at that point. I'd started it in January of 2020. You hear that time frame again. That was a year, wasn't it? Whew. Um, so we were doing that for probably 8+ weeks, and I put out, as you can see here, I put out some tutorials, and I've been posting and got on a posting schedule and back on Instagram and all that. And so just this like week and a half ago at this point, I was looking for some knitting needles, and I opened a box in the studio, and sure enough, this guy was on top, even in his cute little bag. And so I've since named him Barnaby. And I wrote the sewing pattern for him this week. And when I found him in the box, it was like I opened that box and found this whole tiny world that had just been waiting inside for the right moment. And so it's felt really good. I'm feeling more on track than I have in years. And I've been posting little bear videos that are so cute, and it was all the stuff I wanted to do in 2023, but I was just building and I wasn't quite there. So I'd even collected a bunch of props and doll houses and cute stuff to, enhance the message. And yeah, I got invited to do this talk last night at our local art group. And when the president asked me to do it, I said yes, not because I have it all figured out by any means. I feel like I just keep having to start over and start over, and I'm not where I thought I would be at 42. That's for sure. I'm sure you can relate to that. I hear that more and more. But I thought, because every time I thought that a creative thing was done, it's just led to another thing. And I think that resiliency, like doing all this work this week and looking at my history and putting it in this storyline, because I've never, I've been there and living it. And, I've always thought I was kind of uninteresting, which is funny because that's not the feedback I'm getting. And I'm like, oh, I guess it's fairly interesting. But, getting knocked down so many times and not feeling like I'm where I should be. I don't know. I don't use shoulds. I guess I thought I would be somewhere else. I thought I would be further on my path or whatever. But if I look at it, I've just had so many bumps in the road that it makes sense. And so hopefully me sharing my story with you will help make you feel better if you're having bumps in the road. And, it, yeah, a creative path in life is never a straight line, is it? It's really, I mean, thankfully we're creative, right? And we can think of new ways of doing things. So, but whether it was the harp or the handbags or the knitting or the painting or the bears, I've just shown up creatively. And yeah, it's been good, and I am happy with where I'm at. And the form has changed over the years, but that creative drive really hasn't. It's there. And so I just encourage you, just show up. I really think that's the way to get anywhere creative, you know. And it doesn't have to be about selling your art. I don't know, just do it for you. So, yeah, that's my story so far at 42. Keep posted. We'll see where it goes, right? All right. So I'll just tell you, if you want to follow along with the darlings or me or anything, I post the darlings on Instagram, and then I'm posting them here on YouTube. And I'm Rebecca Danger on Instagram as well. You can subscribe here to get more of the bears. I'm going to start doing more tutorials focused on the darlings. This is a tiny And then there's more sizes in the whole world, though I call the darlings. So that you know. So those are on Instagram and YouTube under Rebecca Danger. I co-host that podcast every week with my friend Tom. That's My Art is My Voice podcast. You can find it on all the free streaming services, or we also have a YouTube channel as well. Rebecca Danger, you can search my name. There's not many of us. I'm pretty easy to find. Yeah, I started at 8 because I loved making things with my hands, and I still do. It's just with fabric and thread rather than strings. So I have decided I'm going to do a drop of these guys soon. So if you want to, you can go to rebeccadanger.com/meet the darlings and you can get signed up for when emails for when that comes out. And then again, if you're interested, you can follow along here and Instagram. I'm just repeating myself at this point, but I've been told repeating things is good for people. So, and I know with my own kids, that's the case. So, yeah, I will have a drop of bears coming soon. I haven't decided when yet, and the pattern will be out soon. And then when that one's done, I'm going to start on the bunny and the kitty and the puppy and the mouse and just bring this Darlings World online. So I'm excited. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you get something out of it. And, I can't encourage you enough to be creative because it's made my life really wonderful to be able to just consistently come back to creativity and have that solid anchor there. So, yeah, that's it for now. And you can watch my weekly creative journal. And I didn't mention that. I don't know. Now I'm rambling, so I'm going to go. But thanks for listening and go make something.